Welcome back, folks, to the SMITE 2 Founders Series. Jorby and Gormizer still taking you through the EMEA action here in the last chance qualifiers. We just got done watching TLM versus Old and New, and it decidedly in Old and New's favor. We now follow them into their last match of this group stage up against Titans Reloaded for the honor of first place in this group to get the best seeding possible heading into the playoffs. Gore, I'm ready for this one. How about you?
No, I'm stoked for this one. I feel like this is again, because Old and New have been so clean with it the last few times we've watched them, like not just this set, but last set last week as well. So realistically, I think this is a really good one. But Titans Reloaded, as has been mentioned, like this is a team. I think in competitive history, when you look at Old and New, they are very much that, right? Old players and new players coming together to form this team. Titans Reloaded have been around for a little while. They've been playing together for a little while. That's what makes it exciting to watch what these two kind of like Titans will clash into.
Now, taking a look at the standings in Group B here in EMEA, there were 10 total teams fighting for spots in the playoffs in two groups. But we see here you got KTG and TLM. They are the ones fighting for their playoff lives right now. And that match will be happening at the same time as the one we are about to follow now. Both of these teams, Old and New and Titans Reloaded, have not dropped a single game yet in this group. Both of them +6 in game differential, but one of them will get their first game loss, at least here. And the Titans Reloaded, it's a big chance to prove yourself against this Old and New squad where, you know, if you've been following Group A over at EMEA or in the same region, you know, you have the top of the group, DDK, who are clear above everybody else. And we're about to find out, is it the same over here with Old and New? Are they just different than everyone else in this group? Titans Reloaded are the best look that we're going to get at them in LCQ so far.
Yeah, I'm really, again, just the way that these teams have been playing and looking at more specifically and maybe more than anything, the difference between, you know, what these teams looked like coming into, you know, the last chance qualifiers and what they continue to look like as we march forward with them. You know, the competitive nature, how they grow, the way they draft, the way that they play the map, like every little thing, the just when you're forged in fire, you're actually playing the game in a competitive setting. You're going to pick it up better than you're going to pick it up in scrims. You're going to pick it up better than you'd learn by any amount of time in ranked. And I think this is going to be the one that really is both a learning, whether you win or lose, for both of these teams. It's a huge learning experience. It's also going to show us maybe a glimpse of what playoffs are going to be like, because I feel like both of these teams were playoff caliber, just maybe a couple of unfortunate matchups overall in Swiss that knock them down here. So I'm really excited to see what it looks like as a whole, because this could be one of the closest sets we have of the Founders series.
Yeah, I mean, considering both of these teams being in Swiss earlier, it almost feels, and I was talking about this before with, I believe, Inbound last week, or not last week, or yesterday. Somehow feels like last week, but for these teams that fell down into LCQs from Swiss, like getting more meaningful games in, just in general, like scrims are great, right? But like playing meaningful games, playing it in like game time situations could really help develop the synergies and the issues that you're trying to work on and things like that. So as we get into picks and bans, though, you know, trying to get back into the playoffs, both of these teams are going. It's a matter of who is better than the other. And I think Old and New, they're not really scared of too many picks out there. I'm curious how the band stage will go here.
It's always interesting as well, you know, when you talk to these guys, especially about how things are competitively. It's this weird thing where like you want to win this set, like, you know, even though it only changes your seeding, like you want to win it. First off, a better seed is always nice, but there's also that discussion like you still want to be on the way to your best smite. Like you don't want to be playing your best smite right now. You still want to be picking things up and growing, because right now it's important to, you know, like you said, maybe change some of the seeding, maybe move you know, different ways, but like playoffs, you need to be top 3. You get to move on. If you're not top 3 after playoffs, you're just gone. And then beyond that, you need to be top 6. Beyond that, you want to be number 1 if you want to get that big prize pool in Vegas. So I think grand scheme, like you're still trying to get to the point where you're at your best. And so I'm curious to see what these teams will look like now, and hopefully knowing that they're going to look even better coming in next week, the week after that, things like that. And I do like seeing adjustments from what we saw last set immediately from old and new. They were willing in that set to let Zeus through. They've changed their minds here and now. And I think it is this recognition. We've kind of talked about it, but when you're first pick, there's so many gods that are so good right now.
Don't let go.
Sobek is definitely at the top of that list. Zeus is definitely at the top of that list. You've still got your Fenrir's that are pretty solid, things like that. And so you kind of have to ask yourself, not only what do we ban, but then what do we pick? What do we let through? Like, Ama's still really solid, Fenrir's still really solid, Loki's still really good, Jinwei's still really good. Like, there's so many gods, you just have to figure out what is the above and beyond best god right now. And then let's just hope that we're good and right.
Yeah, for sure. You're still seeing all the same guys pick, no matter who's really in the lobby, right? And we saw Lycane Sobek and his rotations on that god last game. So you got to think that's going to be quite a threat for. It says threat level at the top, but it is Titans Reloaded indeed. Fenrir getting locked in, Loki getting locked in. These are the picks. You see Zeus, Anubis, Sobek, Jinwei, Loki, Fenrir every single time, 100% of the time, unless Hugador is in the lobby, then he's picking Odin. But other than that, this is it. These are the guys that everybody's loving right now. And Baron also getting locked in, getting a lot of love today.
And you know what? The one game we saw with him, it was won me over. And I think it was old and new were the ones that made him look as good as he could. I feel like we've gotten to see kind of the two sides of Baron, and that's going to be the same thing. And we talked about it in the last game of the last set. There is a balancing point. There's some gods that when you are doing even just okay with them,
I will
it changes the
illuminate
game
this battlefield,
and
just as I shine
Baron's
in
in
the
that point. It's
heavens.
not just Baron wins when he's ahead, because duh, right? It's this when Baron's ahead, the game for everyone around him becomes easier. But when he falls behind, the game for everyone around him becomes harder because he's just not able to do as much. His ult is really helpful. He's got a lot of good CC. He's got some decent healing, but he's also easily bullied early on. If he's going solo, which we've seen a couple times, up against this Odin, he's gonna have a rough time. If he's going solo up against this Ama, he's gonna have a rough time. If he's going support, then old and new have definitely thrown me for a loop because there's a Sobek on the screen, but there's definitely a lot of versatility. You can throw him mid. We've also seen him find success in a lane where I thought he wouldn't earlier today, and it was old and new that did that. So I'll choose to have faith this time and hope that I'm not wrong, despite the fact that every other time I've had faith in a Baron, it's kind of come back to bite me.
He's been playing pretty well, so who knows? The coffin has been collecting some souls today, and maybe the soul collecting is not done. So you might not be disappointed, Gorm, but especially with the way old and new have been playing. But hey, we'll see. The Odin on the other side could certainly throw a wrench through things. Curious what these last two picks look like for old and new. You still need a hunter. You still need a mid laner. So you don't have access to Jinwei. You could go Cernanos here, try and counter that, try to get a little early aggression in with the Sobek. We have seen a lot of on her as well. Wouldn't be surprised to see that. Soul has popped up once or twice. I don't think that would be the worst pick for them, but overall you want to do what you can to try to put this Jinwei down, and we do indeed get the on her locked in. And so it all comes down to what that mid laner is going to look like with two powerful mid laners banned out. That Hades has looked pretty good on Dutch Whisperer, but Hecate will actually be getting locked in for Dutch.
I love Hecate. I feel like we've seen, and maybe it's just because Zeus and Baron and some of the other mages, Anubis as well, since he's getting banned, they're just so good right now that Hecate is kind of getting shuffled off to the side, swept to the side, and ignore, especially Raw, with the new hotness. You've got a maybe wow factor. Still really good, as it turns out, in the right scenarios. You put her in mid, you give her a lot of control. She's still got good late game damage. The ultimate is absolutely insane when you hit 2-3 people with it. So realistically, I still love her as a mid laner. Might still be a little more execution heavy, which sounds weird considering how big her ult is, but it definitely feels like she can fall flat a little faster than some of those other gods, maybe because the damage that Zeus can provide, or Anubis, or even a Ra from the range they can do it, makes it so that you're not going to be as in danger, maybe, or you just kill them faster. But realistically, I think she just brings a lot to the table. With a Loki and an on her beside you, I think that damage number is going to just be absolutely insane. It's going to be fun to watch.
And Raw on the other side for AC, I mean, the key is just going to be, look, hit the bird snipes. Not even just hitting them in general, but hitting them on the right targets. When we watched Wolfie play yesterday, you see what a good Ra can do for your team when he hits every single snipe, when he's involved in the fight, when he's able to provide that sustain to your team. And I mean, sustain is something that this team, Titans Reloaded, really have in spades if they want it in that team fight. Between the Amaterasu, the Ra, the Odin, they should be able to outlast a lot of what Old and New may try to do here. But I still think for both compositions, I think you have what's fairly even in terms of your PO potential. I think the Sobek still kind of gives you an edge in that department. But you know, I think this is interesting. How do you feel overall though about both teams here in P's and B's? Like, who wins it for you?
Well, it's so Old and New have shown that they can play against a team today that is meant to roll over you and cause a lot of trouble. That being said, I do feel like Titans Reloaded, outside of the Jingwei, like Fenrir, Ama, Odin, Ra, all can get some decent damage online early. Ra's also going to be a little more mid-game, Fenrir maybe a little more mid-game. So I think the early pressure could go to Titans Reloaded, but on her Sobek is a very, very classic Smite kill lane. If Old and New get a couple picks over there, it honestly might just be enough to snowball this game.
Well, let's go ahead and hop into the game for top of group number. You know, I guess in some cultures, B could be a number, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, people.
If you program, B could be 2 or 3. If you like make an array, it could be 2. Could be anything really. But
that's
you know,
like
none
what,
of you are
11,
programmers out there.
Technically.
11, yeah, right, exactly.
For like
See,
those people out there who are using hex.
yeah, don't know why you guys are crazy. You know, it's like people who like IPv6. Why? But yeah, I mean, Old and New. What I really like, especially in the mid game gore, I love how they rotate together. You know, always 3 apiece. What? What?
We're really lucky we moved away. The minute you said like why IPv6, I have a computer science degree part of my brain kicked in, and chat was about to get a lecture they did not want or ask for.
Which is why I moved on quickly. No one wants to hear.
No one cares.
But just know, if anyone tells you IPv6 is good, they're lying to you, and that's all you need to know.
Smite, right? Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm actually I'm going to use the term flabbergasted. I was so certain that I was about to see Lacane. And I will say, this Baron support for Old and New worked wonders in game 1 today that we watched when they played.
Yeah, he was nasty with it.
So I don't have any issues with it, especially if your team's going to get first blood like that. My God, about as easy as you could ask.
AC barely got started. It was like, yeah, dude, what in the world, Magni? Crazy. And then the leap, they're still going.
Yeah, they're going to go in for it. Honestly, they might have something here.
Has the impale as well. Actually missed the 3. You got to hit that. Got a body block for your support now. And going to dish out a little bit more damage. That could be deadly if he hits it. No, misses the 2. Unfortunate. Jesus, we're fighting. On the other side, Dutch Whisperer gets blown apart. Dark comes alive here early on the Fenrir. And gets a little bit more damage off on this Magni. But early action here for both teams.
It is crazy to me how fast they went from 0 to 100. I didn't expect those fights. I was thinking that we were gonna have time to get our points in and discuss things. Mid absolutely explodes. Not a great spot to be if you're Raw, honestly. Going down 1 super early on. Yeah, the Hecate dies immediately after. Both the kills go to the junglers. You'd think that maybe there's a world where it equalizes out, but you got about half a level now for Dutch Whisper, which is the difference of hitting 5 first, and maybe we'll see a fight around that, maybe we won't, but it could be a pretty big issue in the early game. It also means that, specifically for Dark, you are a little bit ahead here, which means, again, hitting 5 first over the Loki gives you a little bit of wiggle room and strength to work with. What I was trying to say, though, was that this Baron worked out so well for them earlier that I'm okay seeing it. I'm just surprised to see that over the Sobek. I feel like the pluck into impale combo has been such a common and tried and true combination that I guess I just kind of fooled myself into thinking, yes, that's going to be what happens. It does mean that there's going to be some interesting differences in all of this, right? We've seen it more damage, but also squishier target over in the support role for old and new. It also means that when Deathwalker rotates in, you're going to have an execute that's online suddenly because of Sobek and Smite 2, but also those plucks will be deadly.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's some attention being paid to it as well. Brutalized to get the kill. Dark takes down Game Hunter, and the Listemics versus Game Hunter solo lane, we will continue watching, but that's a good rotation from Dark to collect that early kill on the Game Hunter. So Titans Reloaded, a couple of nice responses after what was that early aggression in the mid lane from Magni and Dutch Whisperer to pick up that early kill on AC, and then also in that duo lane, which they haven't actually gotten the full advantage on, but Baron has been getting the harass, and Lycane, you barely survived, just can't hold on. And Baku will get that kill. And the bite is simply too deep for Magni to survive. Another trade on the other side of the map. Dark's trying to run away. Might just find Game Hunter's, well, the end of Game Hunter's little pluck here if it comes up, but he still had about 4 seconds as he got under tower, so difficult to find.
One of the best things about Fenrir, and it's showed in circumstances like that. We saw it a little bit in set 1 as well, but just a god that can get away. He's got so much mobility, so much that can just slip right through when you need him to. And sometimes, yeah, that means having to use your Brutalize for a little extra distance, but if it's between that and dying, it's always going to be worthwhile. So Dark being able to escape showcases, again, a little bit of trouble maybe for Game Hunter. Also, a lot of the presence that Titans Reloaded have. Admittedly, most of it's on Dark, but the fact that they are able to get this aggressive this early, I mean, they're kind of rolling across the board, across the map, and in places where they were even down a little bit earlier, and I'm specifically looking at the Raw who got first blooded, he's ahead now, right? And whatever they've been doing for farm, and it always comes down to these neutral camps. There's a few of them across the board, and you know, it's solo, it's always easy to talk about because you've got the totem over there, but the camps to the left and right of mid are just as important, and really, you're seeing, I think, the big difference makers right now, and that's that Titans Reloaded are controlling those neutral mid camps. They're controlling the camp right around duo, and that is enough to get you not just ahead, but really a kind of big depth of control that manifests right now in a lot of tier 3 items being completed before old and new have been able to. It's power spikes early in the game just to get them that little bit of leverage to work with.
A little look over towards mid lane, but they're just trying to control the camps, and Titans Reloaded who have that pressure, and then, of course, well, Dark taking down Mateo. We see the damage Mateo can do when he gets online, but it'll be a little bit before we see that life of the party inside the Odin cage. Whose party is it really? Well, they're surviving for now, actually doing a ton of damage. Forces Rob back, and AC gets deleted by Lycane. Still the bite out, forces the beads. Dutch Whisperer has to get out of this. He's getting absolutely melted and trying to escape, but just cannot escape the prowess of the dog. And another death that Dark picks up, finding a lot of value early on with this Fenrir.
Yeah, there's a moment for AC, if that ult hits, we're talking, first off, it would be a death for the Baron, and maybe a different scenario for you. Unfortunately, it just kind of scatters everybody to the winds, which still works out for your team, just costs you your life in the process, right? So if you're looking mid to mid, you're maybe not feeling as great about just what you're doing against Hecate, but then when you look at your jungler being up 2 levels and it's 5 and 0, you kind of stop caring as much about the fact that you're not having the best time, especially if it means that you get pressure elsewhere. I mean, Listemics as well, 2 levels up, and you're able to just kind of freely invade this jungle, and old and new don't really have a good way to respond.
No, Titans Reloaded are all over them, and you can see it. Dutch Whisperer is not having a good time. The ult, well, not going to help anything. In Game Hunter, there's nothing he can really do about it either. So Titans Reloaded attacking early and often. Where old and new, they started out so aggressive too, but you gotta think that Dark has been the big difference maker here for Titans Reloaded, because AC, it's been up and down for him in the first 7 minutes. Life of the party out as well. You get Ralton still surviving. Cage, surely you kill him here. And like, hey, I mean, look, honestly, well fought. You survived that one for a long time. You did a little damage, but yeah, you were never getting out of that one alive. Magni also taking a slight look see maybe a little bit of look at that Gold Fury as well. Game Hunter is kind of shredding right now. All right, that sustain on the Amaterasu certainly would be difficult to handle. Gonna prevent the back. I mean, Game Hunter could do this all day.
Yeah, classic solo lane.
Yeah, you don't get to leave.
I'm gonna stop you from backing. I'm not gonna get anything done. You're not gonna get anything done. Like Lystimix being half health is maybe playing with danger a little too much, but should be fine overall. I'm really. It's nice to see, and it is good news that Game Hunter's doing well. It's just trying to catch up and maybe make some of those impacts. In fact, Lystimix had a pretty decent lead, or what, like 2 minutes ago, a minute ago, and now Game Hunter's playing catch up on that pretty well. So realistically, the solo lane is doing great for you. The downside is solo Sobek is not typically who I'm looking for and putting my hopes on as like the end-all be-all carry.
What do you mean? What do you
feel
mean?
like,
the pluck is OP, Gore.
The pluck is really, really good. But I wouldn't
like the
mind
win more
if,
so
like, the
Execute?
Hecate and the on her maybe had some of that damage online. Maybe we could see some Game Hunter rotations to help him out.
What's the Flat Gator Friday? I mean, it's Sunday, but you know, it's mood.
Mood
with the Sobek. Every day is Friday if you're Sobek.
Exactly. So you get it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good that's a good mentality to have. Every day is Friday.
Right? You know, it's sometimes life is all about how you look at it. Well, right now, I think old and new might need some LASIK because they're having a hard time seeing the way out of this first 10 minutes. Yeah. But you know, you're about 6K down. You're not out of this at all. You can start to swing things back in your favor, but you can kind of see things starting to flatten a little bit. So if you can win this next team fight, you can fight for the Gold Fury, which is still up here 10 minutes in. No one has claimed it. So if you win a team fight, you could swing this back really quickly, but they got to really think about the attack. And Titans Reloaded seem to know that as well, that a Gold Fury could really help solidify what would be a pretty hard lead to overcome here, as everybody full commits for it. And the raw ult to make sure they get it. Nobody knew from old and new at all. So Titans Reloaded get the Gold Fury for free and use the info to their advantage, catching everybody from old and new out.
I mean, realistically, this is a spot, if you are Titans Reloaded, the position you are in right now is not necessarily the end-all be-all. Like, we've seen teams fall from this kind of lead. Just yesterday, I watched a team throw a lead much bigger than this and lose a game.
I'd be up in gold at the end.
Yeah, it is impressive, you know, to have this, and at 10 minutes in, you should dictate everything in this game. The downside is that when you're this far ahead, it kind of leads to this weird point of the game. Nobody on old and new is going to take a fight against you. They recognize and they kind of know, like, they're not in a spot to fight. And if they are, or if they try, they know that it's going to be a little more work for them to get that fight done, right? Even in the 1v1, Honor's great at those, but it could be a little dangerous for you in certain moments to try and take that. So you have to be careful against your Jingwei. Same for mid, same for solo. But there's also no Pyromancer or Fire Giant to get just yet, so you can't do anything.
I mean, old and new, we saw what they did against TLM, who are tied for third place here, but Dark is all over the place on this Fenrir and gets another kill for his efforts. And the fight over here, on her ult out, barely has any health left, avoiding the airstrike. And will survive by the skin of his teeth. Magni hoping to find a way to get this Jingwei. But man, what Titans Reloaded are doing, you can start to see what some of the hype has been about, considering what we watched old and new do in this group, and they're kind of doing to them what they did to TLM.
Yeah, it is a lot of control, and I think the biggest thing is looking at this gold lead that has only continually grown, because there's a certain point where it's like it's neutral camps, but it's also invades. It's that Gold Fury, and it's these kills. I mean, left and right now. Unfortunately for Lycane, like, this is like the 8th cage I've seen catch this out, and all it takes is ACD's timers about 2 seconds now to be able to maybe find that ult, but you don't even need it. You just got damage, and it feels unfortunate because, like, it's little things like that that have me kind of showcasing, and that's why I talk about the Baron being so iffy. It feels like it is such a really, really, really big balancing point. Also worth noting that the Phantom Shell, while they have one, is on her, and I love that Doug hovered that because I didn't realize that it was on her that had it. So
Ooh.
like Lycade's it's so easy to bully is for the Odin.
Yeah, that's not great at all. And I mean, you don't really have the follow-ups either. Like both times we saw him get caught out was where in mid, and you only have Hecate to help you out. And I mean, there's not much you're going to be able to do against that Odin unless you have your ult up and you can take Odin out of his own cage. But it just has not been the case. Game Hunter's having an okay time here in that solo lane, but the Titans Reloaded continue to invade Olden News jungle. Life of the party. Only gonna find one for the mark, and the rest of Titans Reloaded gonna show up here. Put Lycane in a lot of trouble. You are still getting picked on, and you're gonna be picked first, as Listemics will get credit for the kill. And yeah, that's not really working out too well for Lycane. He keeps just getting shut down immediately. And even here, Dutch Whisperer, what are you gonna do? Just take a ton of damage. Cage comes out, and you're just gonna have to sit here for a little bit with a little bit of tower protection. So it won't kill you just yet. Ra is proving to be some high pressure here in the mid lane.
I feel like it is fun to watch a Raw when they are ahead, but it's mainly because you just get so much damage out of them. And you've got so much setup all down the road. You've got an Ama, a Fenrir, and an Odin. Like, your damage is going to look great. And it's in this perfect position as well, because like Raw, outside of the ult, a lot of the abilities are kind of slow to either fire or slow to move, right? Your beam doesn't necessarily get there crazy. You have to pre-fire it. You have to know where you're aiming if you want to be able to hit somebody that's moving around. But when they can't move, it's just such an easy combo to smack down. And you've got a good build. I mean, we talked about the gold just in terms of the lead. This is why it matters. I mean, look at the items. Like, you are so far ahead. Not just the 3 levels, but like you've got 2 tier 3s finished while Dutch Whisperer is wearing a ring. It's just like there's nothing going on the left side of the item build that makes you feel good about it.
I mean, 10k up 14 or almost 15 minutes in is just ridiculous, and now it's gonna be almost 12k here. I mean, jeez. Usually you say the 10k mark is the point of no return, right? Especially when you're at 15 minutes. I mean, good luck doing much. And, you know, credit to Dark, I think, who really set the tone. Because this could have been a lot different. ASIC just keeps hitting these raw ults as well. This team fight, though, starting to swing a little bit in Olden New's favor, but they're just too scared. They can't come out. You're kind of stuck under tower. You lose half your health. And Dutch Whisperer, even if he sniffs the lane, he will get burned. You know, it's just there's nothing that he can actually get in there and actually be a presence in that fight, despite the health bars looking like it was favorable. Because as soon as you come out, you just get raw one, then you just get beaten to death. There's nothing you can do about it. So even there, where it looked like Olden New had something, that's the item diff, right? That's the level diff, where oh, we actually got something going, but then you can't actually push anything because it's just too big of a deficit when you only have 1 or 1.5 items online.
Yeah, it really does feel like this is a position to, I don't even know. I mean, like, hunker down is one thing. Maybe you have to make Hail Marys and go for steals, things like that. You know, not going to work, but like you kind of have to make plays like that because just biding your time under the towers isn't really going to do too much. Tier 1s, tier 2s, I mean, those should be pretty easy work for Titans Reloaded at this point. Looking at the Jingwei, like, you're in a late game state, 16 minutes in, you're 2 levels up, 4 levels in mid, 3 levels in jungle, 3 for solo. I like this play for Honor, only because, man, what else are you gonna do? Like, you gotta split push, you gotta find progress somewhere, and you can't find it in the face of Titans Reloaded, so you have to push elsewhere. Maybe even now try to rotate into mid where your team's getting some pressure while the rest of Titans Reloaded push down right.
Yeah, I mean, Dutch Whisperer has to be careful. He does have Lycane to help support him. We'll try to push this out. Also, Loki showing up in the nick of time, but Magni will get a kill. Dark will pick it right back up, though. Ragnarok available, gets out of the ult from Dutch Whisperer, who is taking a little bit of tower damage, teleports out of the way. A little bit of survival is not going to make you fitter. Dark, too strong, and coming across. Titans Reloaded, absolutely dominant performance across the board. This feels like we're really getting to the point where you're kind of just waiting for game 2, and Old and New might be thinking about what they do at game 2 at this point. You hate saying that 18 minutes in, but I mean, what has it been? It's just been top to bottom. Titans Reloaded.
It is that, like you said, that awkward spot where there might be a part of you that is legitimately just thinking about the fact that, you know what, maybe next time, like, what gods are giving us trouble? Why is it giving us trouble? How do we fix it? If we do fix it, what are we going to do in response to X, Y, or Z? Like, as much as it sucks, like you said, it kind of is where you have to be sometimes in a situation like this. You're looking maybe for a defense. In fact, a big Hecate like ult could make that difference, but we mentioned the damage number difference and damage capability difference because of the items. If On Her gets caught out or dies over on right now, which doesn't look like it's going to happen, that changes the grand scheme of what I was going to say dramatically. There's still Fire Giant. There's still potential for a third Fury here. Like, there's a lot for Titans Reloaded to do. Phoenix defense for old and new, it gets a lot easier for you around there no matter what. Because at the end of the day, you have a sixth man doing a lot of damage. It really helps out. But you need something, and luckily you've got, you know, a standard, actually a couple of mages that can help clear waves, stop the minions from getting in there. Dutch Whisper with a good ult could actually bring everybody from Titans Reloaded into a very bad position. But when they've got this much of a lead, and now I'm looking at 6 levels in the jungle, sometimes pulling them in is what they want you to do, and that could actually end up biting you if Dutch Whisper gets a really massive ult. You pull all 5 in, it feels great. Now the Alma's ulting you, and there's a cage around you, and ACT and Ragnar are just free-firing. Like, there is a place where it could find a lot of devastation, and a place where it could just destroy your team. It's going to be a very difficult balancing point for them to find, but admittedly, you have no towers left. I don't think you can really fight the next Fire Giant, at least not confidently. It might be the only
Gore,
thing
they have a 20k. They have a 20k lead, bro.
Yeah.
Like, okay, 19-7. That's rounded up. It's 20. Like, wow. This is like, I mean, it started bad and then it got worse. But yeah, I mean, you know, hope for a play. Hope you can do something. But even if you just look at the items alone, you're talking about some of them are almost up a whole item and a half, maybe even 2 items, depending on who you're looking at. But I mean, everywhere across the board, right? Dark 4 or 5 levels up on Magni. You got 3 levels up if you're AC on Dutch Whisperer. You've got 3 levels on not Game Hunter, excuse me. You got 3 levels on Lycane. And Jingwei's level 20. Everyone's level 20 except for your Odin. So this is, yeah, looking towards that game number to really just crossing the T's, dotting the I's right now if you're Titans Reloaded.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that it's essentially that period and placement, I guess, where, like you said, like you don't have much options. You need the Fire Giant if you want to get aggressive. You can't just dive into the Titan room or into a Phoenix without getting punished. It is one of the easiest ways to throw even a massive lead like this. But no Fire Giant is up yet, so you can't really do anything at the awkward moment of, well, we'll just go do everything that's within our power. We'll watch the On Her, like, I don't think there's a reason to care about this split push too much. I think it opens up a win condition for old and new. That's actually a big deal for them. But you have bigger fish to fry on the right side of the map. That's a little bit of gold, a little bit of map control that you're going to lose for a massive buff and the team fight that you have in a number of teams.
Fire Giant with the raw snipe to get it. And wait, no, I think the old and new steal it. It looks like they have the buff. Or am I crazy?
No, you're absolutely right.
No, they got it. They did. They went in and stole it. And Game Hunter got a kill on Dark as well. Getting some of that shutdown money back. Just make sure you try to survive. Try to keep as many people with the buff as you can. And Lycane is certainly trying to, but they're hunting him down as they have been all game long. But that little slow should delay the inevitable there. They're actually going to turn right back around. Game Hunter's here to help dance and plucks AC out of the arena. You're still going to die for this one. Magni going down. And the rest of everybody's got to stay up. You've already lost 2. You've got the steal. And you've got 2 of them down. Take the even trade. That's all you can hope for with that Fire Giant buff. But nice steal there. They'll have to fight under the Phoenixes.
And honestly, not only getting the steal, but getting rid of 2 players, one of which was massive. I mean, it is not too outlandish to say that Dark by themselves with the bounty they had might have legitimately been able to rival the, like, surprising that you would have gotten from a Gold Fury. Like, it was like, that is a massive kill to be able to pick up. You also shut down the Raw. That changes the pace of this game. And admittedly, does it change a whole ton? No, you're still dramatically down. You're still in a terrible position right now, but you've delayed the game, right? You've paused it. You're not out of it. And that's kind of the biggest deal is you've given yourselves time to catch up. Your levels are going to be closing up. You're going to be picking up gold. I mean, there's a certain point, both experience-wise, where you see level 20s on Titans Reloaded. They aren't going to be able to level any further beyond that. But then also with itemization, and admittedly, this one's going to take a lot longer to catch up in, but with itemization, they're going to get full build eventually. You're going to need the farm. You need some of these items online. You do damage now. You have more items than you did 5 minutes ago. You're able to make a stand around a Phoenix a lot better than you could, and that's really what they're holding on to now.
I mean, Hecate almost level 20, right? You got your Sobekin on her at level 20, and you got to fight at the Gold Fury. They're feeling a little more confident. Old New want to come through. Lycane with Life of the Party, and Hecate also trying to give him a little bit of support. As the Gold Fury goes down, it is Old and New picking it up, and Game Hunter getting some kills. Well, how in the world are they turning this around? The Fenrir bite is simply a little too powerful. Game Hunter will go down here, and well, they're just staying alive on her, pumping those spears into the enemy, just keeping them alive, but slowly and surely, Ragnar's getting those kills, and Lycane goes down. Dutch Whisperer in a really bad spot. It was starting to look good, but now the worst has turned for Old and New. 4 get deleted, and that just may spell the end here with only Matteo up.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty monumental task for the Honor to try and get something done. Might be saved, actually, a little bit from having to do it alone. They go for this Phoenix. That's the difference of 3 seconds on a respawn for this Luki. You're actually going to have a 2v5. Still dangerous, still hard, but still something you can make work and maybe easy.
Yeah, you do drop the cage to help make sure you can pump that damage out. That's exactly what Ragnar's doing. Just focus firing the Titan and taking game number 1. So despite some death rattles from Old and New near the end of that game, they simply cannot keep the last man standing perk going for long enough. Gore, and now they got to look towards game 2, because that was an emphatic win there for Titans Reloaded.
It was a SmackDown, right? And like in a certain scenario, if you go to that Fire Giant and just say it's like a 5,000 gold lead instead of 20,000, that Fire Giant steal means that Old and New are in a crazy spot to turn that game around. I mean, it would have been a wild fight, and they would have been able to make strides, but it was just such a large deficit that was created from so early in the game. I mean, Titans Reloaded, we even called it was like 10K at 10 minutes or something. Like, they were farming just so much better. They were getting fights so much cleaner. There's a lot for Old and New to do, and honestly, maybe you just kind of brush that game off and move into the next one, because thinking about it too long, it's not going to help you much.
Gotta have short-term memory loss when you're a competitive gamer. And now you're going to have to wait for 5 more minutes, because we're going to go to a short break before we get ready for game 2. How do Old and New respond to the smackdown there from Titans Reloaded? We'll be back after the break.
And then I said, that's not Bacchus, that's Bilson's mother. That one always makes me laugh. But enough about my weekend. Hey, Goremizer, what's new with you?
Just picked up my SMITE 2 Founders Edition.
Very nice.
Purchased it on my preferred gaming platform just yesterday.
Nice skin.
It's Cacodemon Ymir. It comes with all SMITE 2 gods. Forever.
That's very cool, Goremizer, but that's nothing. Look at this. Night Stalker Neath and Ascension passes for 11 Alpha Launch gods. What do you think?
Geez, that is really super. How'd a nitwit like you get so tasteful?
Can't believe that Dandy prefers Chelly's Founders Edition to mine.
Very nice. Impressive. Let's see J-Max Founder Edition.
Look at that avatar, badge and title. The tasteful thickness of Tier 5 Fallen Zeusia. Oh my god, it even comes with Ascension passes for all 23 Alpha gods.
Don't be like this psycho and upgrade your Founders Edition, so you don't miss out on Night Stalker Neath, Tier 5 Fallen Zeus, and Ascension passes for the first 23 gods. Upgrade today.
Upgrade your Founders Edition right now. You can get access to every god that will ever be in SMITE 2, every god that already is in SMITE 2 forever and always. It's one of the best deals that you can get in any MOBA because no other MOBA offers that. I don't know how SMITE's been out for 12 years and nobody else has decided, this is actually pretty smart. We should do this. hi-rez continues to do it. So go ahead and upgrade your Founders Edition. Get the Cacodemon Ymir skin. If you're feeling a little splashy, get the tasteful thickness of that Tier 5 Zeus skin and be like J-Mac. Everyone wants to be a little more like J-Mac, right, Gore?
Everybody wants to be a little more like J-Mac. I mean, yeah, it is. When you look at what you get as well, like the Ascension passes, I have to latch on to something else because it's always so easy. Like whenever you can just say, hey man, all gods forever, right? In the game, period, forever. That you get that value on its own seems so wild to me that it's like, okay, well, let's highlight something like the Ascension passes. You get so many diamonds and like the skins and emotes and stuff that come from those. Like there's so much value in upgrading as well. Like it is absolutely insane the amount that you get for what you pay here.
Especially because now, if you missed it, but hi-rez had announced like what the next 50 or what the up to all the 50 gods are going to be, and they're releasing
so
gods at an insane clip. This week, there's going to be 3 more gods added to the game, and so with more gods, it means there's going to be more that aren't in that free rotation. So SMITE is getting better SMITE 2 getting better and bigger every single week. So be sure to upgrade that. But talking about this game, Gore, we were kind of talking about it in the break, but this is not really going the way we thought it would. We thought this was supposed to be the marquee matchup of the group, and Titans Reloaded are making it look like a pub stomp right now. 1-0, and it wasn't close.
Yeah, I mean, they like from the top rope with a metal chair. Like it was not gentle. It was from an early lead. I mean, Dark, like what, 1 death overall, and it was a worthwhile death, but it's like around the Phoenix line. It's a really good fight from Old and New at the time, but like there's only so much you can do. Stolen Fire Giants, you've got that, but when you're down 20,000 gold, a Stolen Fire Giant is a drop in the ocean. That is the lead that the Titans Reloaded had. And it came from a lot, right? We saw invades, we saw kills, we saw neutral camp control, gold furies, pyromancy, like you name it. If it was something that they could get on the map, Titans Reloaded got it. And they continued to kind of push that envelope further and further and further until eventually there was just no real winner or winning path for Old and New outside of winning the next fight and then the fight after and then the fight after. And then maybe you're in an even spot and then you have to win the next fight and the fight after in order to try and win. It got to the point where it was, like you said, all odds kind of stacked against them. Not at all as close as we thought it would be. And something that it happens every now and then, right? Like you just kind of have to shrug it off and move to the next one and try your best to not let it happen again. But if Titans Reloaded, whether it was the draft or just the play, if they can do anything even remotely similar, they are cementing in my mind themselves as a huge threat for anybody in playoffs next week.
You kind of made a point when during the pick and ban stage in game 1, and so but headed into picks and bans for game 2, I am curious because when Sobek got first picked, right, Anubis and Zeus get banned, Sobek gets first picked. We're kind of thinking, okay, here comes Lycane in the duo lane again, right?
Yeah.
But no, they put it on Game Hunter, and you were kind of question marking it a little bit, and I think we felt the loss of Lycane on that Sobek. Not to say he had a great Baron last game against threat level Midnight, but we saw his Baron just get absolutely picked apart. So for old and new, if they do get that Sobek again, maybe we see more of that PO come back as old and new actually ban out the Odin to follow up the Zeus. So Anubis finally free for the first time in what feels like 10 games. I feel like he's been getting banned almost every time, and Titans Reloaded are the ones to take Sobek this time, so old and new won't even get a chance to sniff at him.
Yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion though that this one's gonna be duo lane. I feel like there are a few gods that
No fight is unwinnable if we try our
while
hardest.
they are flexible, it doesn't mean they should be flexible, right? Like, and I feel like, I mean, admittedly, Game Hunter was actually doing pretty well in lane, so I don't even really have anything against the solo Sobek as much as it is that I feel it just fits so much better in support, specifically because it's more impactful throughout the game, as opposed to solo, who only rotates in, a little bit maybe in the mid game, but really they only show up in like the late mid to late game portion of things. Get that pluck when you're level 2. Have that pluck around when there's level 5s nearby you. Like, have that pluck somewhere where everybody is going to be able to be aggressive and utilize it, and that you're going to have backup, because in solo lane, now that Ama is just going to walk 5 feet back to her minion wave. Like, it doesn't really make that big difference. So I'm kind of rooting for this to end up going over to Baku and support, and just be paired up with something. I mean, if you even pair it with the on her again, but realistically, you could change it and grab pretty much any of the carries. A Kern wouldn't be bad either. You just have a lot of power and a lot that you can work with to create kind of a kill lane super early on.
Now, I'm curious what this third pick will be for Titans Reloaded, because I love the Sobek into Anubis. I think Anubis obviously very strong in that mid lane, but with the Fenrir Jingwei, kind of same story, but flipped sides, right? Sobek on the other side for old and new last time, Fenrir on the other side this time. So Dark won't have access to that Fenrir, but you've still, Loki is open to take if you want to take him here. You don't have to pick into the Loki. Amaterasu gonna get locked in for Titans Reloaded, and so you get that sustain, a little bit of that sustain, a little bit of that healing, right, from the Anubis, or at least the self-heal for Anubis, from the lifesteal, and Loki and Fenrir are going to be on this old and new side. Interesting composition forming itself on both sides here.
Yeah, we've seen this, I mean, even earlier, right? We saw the Fenrir get locked in potentially for support, and actually when I see this now with the Bacchus, it wouldn't be an uncommon thought to think Jingwei Fenrir duo, Loki jungle, Bacchus solo. That's what we've seen a lot in the past. Might not end up being that way, but that is the more common spots for, I guess, some of these gods. Fenrir may be debatable. And it gives you, as old and new, something that I actually talked about in their last set with a very different team, but it was still in their set. A comp that can absolutely smack down the other team. It can get ahead, it can get kills, it can roll them over. It can also die really, really easily. And for some of these gods, especially like a Fenrir in the support, very similar to what we saw with the Baron. If it gets just smacked around super early and it's not able to find a lot of those strengths and leverage what makes it a good pick, then it just kind of becomes dead weight for the rest of the crew. And so that's going to be the threat for this Fenrir, is to make sure that you can maintain the aggression without giving up too much.
Fight by my side or perish.
Mordred rounding out this Titans Reloaded roster,
In the
so
end,
they pick up two of the gods that old and new ran last time, and with this Mordred, Mordred, I feel he kind of gets splash played. He's not a priority pick for any team we've seen in LCQs, but he does show his face a little bit, and a lot of times ends up being a huge force in the lobby. And I think in the jungle, having that ultimate is so valuable, just being able to surprise anybody, going through a wall, catching them out, and like the heavy CC that also comes with it. But this is actually what I wanted to see. I love this Hades pick. I thought Dutch Whisperer played an amazing Hades against TLM. Didn't have as much success with Hecate, but like his Hades was unreal. That dude was making plays. He was 2v1ing with Zeus in the mix and was winning. All right, I want to see more of that Hades play. Like those heals were helping sustain old and new in some of those crucial fights early on in that last match that they had. I love this Hades pick just for the individuality. We'll see if Dutch Whisperer can pop off again.
I would even say one of the biggest fights that Old and New had that game one was brought to you by a Hades ult. Like there was a lot that led into the Hades ult, but the Hades ult was the big delivery that the team really needed, and that knocked again everybody down and blew me away in the way that they played it. So Dutch Whisperer, I'm excited to see this for the exact same reason. Mordred and Baron though on the other side, and very specifically with the Anubis, the thing that I'm wondering, and we've seen this a couple times, so maybe it's going to be Ragna on the Anubis. We've seen that specifically in EMEA. It is not uncommon for people in the duo lane to go for the Anubis. I don't know if I'm sold on it being a great decision. I feel like it brings you a lot of burst damage. Right? It brings everything that Anubis is going to bring. You've got CC, you've got slows, you've got DPS, and when it comes to like Gold Furies and Fire Giants, thumbs up, you're going to have it in spades, and the control around those is going to be there. You also now lack some of that ranged physical damage that really is helpful, that the Jingwei is going to bring, that your Kurnanos brings, that your Neiths bring for towers, which is what they really help knock down the most. And call me old-fashioned, but in a MOBA, when towers and phoenixes are the thing that you kind of need to knock down,
you gotta pump out that structure damage
to get to the Titan, it can cause a lot of trouble. The balancing point for it is that for Titans Reloaded, the goal is to just kill everybody so that it doesn't matter that it takes a little longer to kill that tower. They're already dead and there's not going to be a lot. You also make up for it if you can get Amma and Mordred into the tower line and into the zone. Yeah, they're going to have to get a little closer than Jingwei on the other side is going to have to in order to do it, but the damage should still be there. So there is going to be something and some saving grace. It just means that you might have to work a little harder to get it done.
Yeah, it really comes down to how this, again, the early game goes for Titans Reloaded, right? Because I think you hit the nail on the head. If this turns into a slugfest and it's back and forth, that Jingwei ends up being the difference maker in this lobby. So unless they can, like if it gets the late game, right? And we do start talking about your ability to burst down objectives, you need the Anubis around. You basically need that ult ready for a Gold Fury, for a Fire Giant, I mean, you can't ult the tower, but like those objectives are also going to be important. So if you let old and new hang around, the Jingwei starts getting online, all of a sudden, it might be too much for you to handle just because of that consistent DPS. So it may end up being a target that they go to often to try to keep Jingwei down for as long as possible. I think it's an interesting composition. I think I tend to agree with you though, like having a hunter, especially in today's meta, like hunters are always so powerful. Sometimes teams are running two of them, but to run none of them is almost making a statement to the other team that you are just not going to beat us. Like this is like, it's almost an ego comp for me to have Anubis go into the duo lane. It just means that it's not that you don't respect the other team's ability to bring it back on you, but more so just a supreme confidence in your own team's ability to win the game and win it hard. Old and new, their only job here is, like I said, make it a slugfest. Make this last as long as possible. Get Matteo online on this Jingwei. We saw what he did against TLM. You get this Jingwei ahead a little early, it can really help pole vault your team over the edge. So it really comes down to maybe this first 5 to 10 minute score about who really starts to, or who really just takes control of the game and stomps through.
And I'm really excited to see something that is very, 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 very different than what I expected. Because I've gotten used to Bacchus in the solo lane, because that's where a lot of people were just slamming him. Game Hunter on Fenrir solo
Scary.
Lestimics admittedly also on the Sobek solo, which I didn't think we were going to be getting again. So a lane that is very opposite of what I expected to see. And very curious because, like you said, it can be scary. I mean, Fenrir, Game Hunter in my mind here, not just dominating the lane. I need to see those teleporters get used, right? Rotate over to duo. Just cause some havoc over there. Even if you don't get the kills, like just having the presence to ruin a carry's life and to make Ragna in this case, who is also on the AMA, like it is going to be a very interesting balancing point for both of these teams to try and stand on. It feels like a knife's edge between success and defeat in this game. Maybe we'll see someone just absolute powerhouse, run it down, no problem, no struggles, damage will be easy. But if you're looking at where successes are being found, I'm already looking at old and new, because that was a very successful invade from the Bacchus, very well done, and you've got a lot of damage. I'll admit I'm left scratching my head, but now I'm really excited to see how this game plays out.
That should be interesting for sure. Old and new are putting a little bit of that pressure on early, and that's the difficulty, especially at level 1 in that dual lane. Is that's what you want to do when that Anubis is there, is try to kill him as early as possible. Bacchus jumping right on top of it again, gets the burp on. Beads pop, but beads aren't going to save you. Magni comes in, Baku goes down. And there you go, old and new. And they are going to start. And with the first blood. They started with first blood last time too. It was in the mid lane. With this Bacchus, it's looking a little different. They'll keep the push going. Trying to drop those health bars. Gets turned around on them. And there's just no way out for Dark. Magni gets another kill. But the health bars are dropping the other way. Ragnar comes in, gets a double kill. And that's the best way you can respond there at the start, because it was starting to get really ugly there with Magni.
Yeah, realistically, you're happy and lucky that you're Jing Wei and that you've got a lot of disengage if you're left there, because it was, I mean, very much what you said. It was going to get ugly. I was about to have I don't know, maybe rant, maybe tirade, who knows what it would be called, but it felt like something had gone wrong dramatically and this Bacchus was doing too much. But now we're seeing what this Ama can do early, and being able to pay back, get a double kill, and make sure that you don't fall too far behind, despite the fact that I think advantage for this lane, at least for a little bit, goes to old and new.
I'd say Ama Baron duo is definitely unique, for me, at least. It's interesting to watch early on for sure. And they're just getting picked apart again. Magni taking down Baku. Baku already handed 2 deaths. And you see Game Hunter forced out of the lane, as he barely survives within an inch of his life. Almost level 5 though. It will be hard against this Sobek. I mean, that's just a natural advantage in kits, right? Sobek has the 2 to knock you up. That cancels out the Brutalize. Heck, even just sitting in front of the Brutalize and plucking him. You have 2 different abilities to get rid of Brutalize, which is that's most of your early game potential as Fenrir. So as long as, you play your cards right as Sobek, you should be able to, Lestimic should be able to get the better of Game Hunter most of the time in that solo lane.
Yeah, I'm really kind of watching it with bated breath, because it does feel like something that, like, you should out-sustain, out-survive in a lot of these little moments. And so what the Fenrir is going to bring to the table is Ragnarok, is rotations. Again, that's something I kind of wanted to see a lot earlier. I want to see those teleporters get used. I want to see you leave this lane. I want to see you, put the pressure on. Go help Dutch Whisper just exist. Go help Dutch Whisper get kills. Go over and make Ragna feel like a loser because you're a Fenrir and you're jumping on him, whether it's stuns or kills or what have you. Like, I want to see this Fenrir kind of show up all around the map.
Yeah, he's just not going to have a good time if you just sit there and farm in solo. I definitely agree. You kind of have to be the second jungler, if you will, which is kind of what you get when you pick Fenrir in any other sort of lane. Old and new, though, kind of get caught here. Dark, a little bit of revenge on Lycane, who has been really annoying on that Bacchus in these first 5 minutes. And this is kind of shaping up how the first 5 minutes did the first time around, right? A little bit of this back and forth. But then after 5 minutes, Titans Reloaded in game 1 just completely took over. This has the feeling of something a little different. I think Old and New's draft is definitely indicative of that. And you can see Lestimics having his way in this lane almost entirely. Short Warhorn on this side will help Game Hunter get a little pressure done on the lane clears. But as far as the health bar goes, all Lestimics has to do is drop a poison on you. pluck you out of the way. He can tank the minions, no problem, and try to peel as long as possible and out-farm you there. 1v2.
Yeah, it was wave, and now Mordred's going up.
And comes right down. Dutch Whisperer gets deleted. Titans reloaded, finding some crucial picks. Got plucked. That one looked interesting. And the LCQ, pop, poison, and punish. Game Hunter goes down. Titans reloaded. After that 5-minute mark, here they come.
It's the start of something that could be very, very devastating. And I'm looking at the Mordred, I'm looking at the Warriors. It does feel, and I will say that there is some danger, right? This is a comp that I'm still maybe unsure about their potentials. It definitely feels like there are ways to fight back in much easier than last time for old and new. Also, it helps that right now there's not a 20,000 lead on the other side, but it does feel like this is a comp that with even just a couple of mistakes, and wow, that was crazy distance gain from Loki to avoid what might have been a surefire death. So really good from old and new to stay alive. But I'm a little nervous about what Titans Reloaded could do, even if they get ahead, even if they get to the late game. It feels like this comp could definitely throw a little easier.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that lack of a hunter. Might come back to bite them. That's why this early game is so important for AC to get those kills. Dutch Whisperer popped an ult, but who did he really get out of it? Nothing. He's just getting rinsed by the Mordred. Wait, Matteo on the other side. Hold on a second. He actually got that kill. Has to leave. Doesn't want to get traded out here, but getting sat on by Ragna. 1, 2, 3. Got him. Baku actually got the kill. And Dark picks Dutch Whisperer up as well. So Titans Reloaded, what looked like might have been a good turnaround there with Matteo's kill, actually turns into another disaster for them as they lose the trade.
I mean, that is, again, steps in the right direction. Not only steps in the right direction, they kill off maybe the two most important to kill off. Like, if you could have added Finra to that list right in there, then it would have been the trifecta overall. But making sure that the Jingwei and the Hades are dead and that they're the ones that are suffering and falling behind, that is where the success is. In fact, Jingwei still has a level lead despite that death. So putting that behind, trying to get Ragna into a position where you can find a lot of more comfortable fights overall, it could be the best for you. I also love that, you had kind of called it like Listimics should have the better end of the trades in all of these fights. It feels absolutely crazy watching the Sobek do exactly this.
Jeez.
Thunder too, my God, man.
He knew he had him low. He knew he didn't have a leap. So yeah, pop the Sunder. Yeah. He's not able. I mean, Game Hunter's not even able to leave that lane because he's just not getting farm. So he can't go rotate, right? Because you just lose more farm that way. And there's been no lane that's really been open for him to go even on the teleporters. You go over to dual lane. What are you gonna do there against the Amaterasu and Baron? You're gonna get stunned out. There's just no one really to go target over there. So that's Sobek solo really proven itself here. Granted, heavy mismatch. Titans Reloaded looking a little bit better. Got the wrap, but not much more over here. And you do start looking towards that Gold Fury as well, that first Fury, to try to increase the slight gold lead that Titans Reloaded have been able to amount. You got about 3K, just under 3K, and looks like they are shading towards that Gold Fury.
Should be maybe not a clean pickup, but this is where the Anubis can come in handy if he rotates over. That ult is so good at just shredding through objectives. They don't even need it.
No, don't even have to.
What?
Wait. Well, I know we can't do instant replay. You and I both assumed that was. You and I both assumed that Titans Reloaded get that. Well, that's a big Fury to steal. Because you're talking about, you just swung the gold 3K technically, because that was supposed to be Titans Reloaded. Instead, you deny it. You gain the 1,500, and now you're in position to try to take control here.
This is a wild little moment, right? It is such a small thing, but it goes to show, and this is part of the reason why some of the, I guess, issues overall. You've got these no secure, it feels like. That is going to be great overall. Now you've got a fight going on over on right. I don't know if you win this one.
Just Listemics. He went off to the isolation play, but hang on a second. You have the Mordred off to do a little bit of damage, a little bit of CC, a little bit of stuns. AC comes in with the double beam kill and turns things around here for Titans Reloaded. A little pluck to save the day. Baku, or Dark, excuse me, goes down to Dutch Whisperer, but not without his life also cut thin. Listemics will get the kill. Gore, I don't want to hog the mic for too long, but Listemics going for the isolation on his ult instead of going to where everybody else was, I thought was a huge misplay. But then AC saved the day with that Goop assault.
Yeah, it felt like it really did feel like everything was crumbling apart for a moment there. I genuinely wasn't feeling too certain about it, but like you said, they kind of make sure that they salvage what they needed. And instead, here we're at, where again, you've managed to maintain it. Despite that Gold Fury loss and steal, things aren't too bad for you, right? Realistically, it's a bump, kind of a speed bump overall on the roll. You've still got a lot of experience and gold leads where they matter. The experience maybe being the biggest thing right now. I see 2 levels in a couple rolls, 1 level in mid, but those can make a huge difference for you. We also haven't gotten to see a huge team fight till like this. Oh my god.
Bunch of bolts popped. Yeah,
He's
you're
dead.
not surviving. Bye-bye, like it.
Jeez.
Thanks for showing up, buddy.
You know, mathematically, and maybe, you know, Dark still having the capabilities to move forward, so it's maybe not as much, but like, that was a lot used for just the support. Like, it might be worthwhile of a trade, unless you lose something, you know, alongside that, right? If Jingwei goes down, I'm having a different conversation. The tower goes down. It definitely doesn't feel great right now for old and new, but they have done a great job maintaining, especially in comparison to game 1. It just feels like the issues are anytime they try to step in that right direction, it feels like Titans Reloaded are waiting for them, are ready to go for a pick, are ready to find just that one target and dump everything that's necessary to get the kill.
I'll look over, maybe trying to get this steal. Don't know if they're gonna aggress on it. They certainly have numbers. Old and new actually do force Titans Reloaded off of it. They're actually just gonna leave it entirely. An interesting little standoff there is they got it, what, over half done. Then old and new decide, we're not gonna do it. And the Titans Reloaded seemed unsure after they disengaged. So they also disengaged. There was a weird little engagement there. Little fight.
Yeah, Ragnar, I have to keep my breath held for a moment because I feel like he was going to go for more. Luckily, there's word vision. Otherwise, this Ama is dead because there was a Loki and a Bacchus that were just waiting to come commit atrocities in the duo lane. Instead, I guess the boring thing happens. Ragnar just walks away unpunished for the aggression. 2-0-4. Not where I thought an Ama would go in a duo lane, especially when it was duoed with a Baron. Like, I kind of felt... I don't know how I felt about this lane. Actually, realistically, like, I don't know if I thought it would work. You were lucky. Again, it's a Jingwei on the other side, so it takes a little time to get online. Very different in terms of the builds we saw earlier from old and new to try and make it work. Instead, we're kind of stalling things out. I think your team fight for Titans Reloaded is where you have the massive benefits.
Yeah, you have so much of that burst, you can wipe those players off the board pretty easily. Life of the party doesn't really grab a stun, but, you know, Bacchus is never afraid to jump into the fray as ACD will take him down like Kane, and ACD just keeps on going. Baku will go down, but the cost is a payment of wiping almost the whole team. Fenrir comes in, but too little too late. You get pushed out. Game Hunter forced to leave, and you're going to die here. As Dark gets another kill, this Mordred finding a ton on a killing spree now. And this should be, realistically, a great jungle time with that Gold Fury up. You should be able to pick this one up, but the Jingwei Gust is your worst enemy. So make sure you get the kill here first, and Matteo does go down. Now you can get the Gold Fury.
Yeah, I'm just going to call it a delayed deicide, right? You know, having Lycane back is great. In fact, I wouldn't have been disappointed to see Bacchus come in just for the belly flop potential steal, but realistically, you might have just been throwing another death onto the board. It would have been very dangerous. Instead, Titans Reloaded, it showcases everything that they need to. They've got the DPS in the Anubis. They've got the CC from Listemics, from Baku, and from the Mordred. You've got damage coming out in spades from 3 of those characters as well. And so you do really get into this position where, for old and new, you need more than just a good team fight, right? You need a little more damage coming from Jingwei. You need everybody to be there when it starts off. That was the other thing that really kind of sucked. Whoa, what a blink! Oh man, I love the mentality, even if it doesn't come out in execution. That to me shows that Titans Reloaded are not feeling any fear right now. They are not feeling like this is a losing game whatsoever, and they'd be right. Like that is the kind of play in Anubis that has not been checked.
Jeez. No, Ragnar just eviscerated Matteo. I mean, Matteo tried to gust, and I think he just gusted into the blade of Ragnar. That's nasty, but you're right. I mean, you blink ult as Anubis because you're what, 4-1 and whatever, and of course, Heavenly Reflection. Thank you very much, Doug. You really decrease a lot of that damage that mid-game Jingwei can do, which isn't a whole lot. Because you're kind of waiting for that fourth item to get online, for Jingwei to really come online. And this Amaterasu over in the dual lane is proving to be quite difficult to handle. And look at this lead. As the Pyromancer goes down, Titans Reloaded continue to farm up, and those stocks are rising quickly here for Titans Reloaded. It's starting to look like more of the same. Composition, composition, who cares?
Yeah, just thrown to the wind doesn't necessarily matter. Again, kind of caught me off guard, still catching me off guard, honestly. Like, I don't expect this Amaterasu to be 4-0-8, to do the damage that they've done up to this point. And while it's still technically less than the Jingwei, and those, you know, sitting, what, 4th on the damage charts? That's such a small, you know, window, really, that to be worried about. Meanwhile, the team is just eviscerating. I mean, what is a Bacchus supposed to do? You can't catch a break.
Yeah, there's nothing you're going to do there. Matteo, though, gets a kill on the other side, and the Sobek pluck into the poison, into the spin, and that's the interpretive dance of the Gator.
That kill on the other side, actually pretty massive in terms of what it brings. Like, you killed the 4-0-8 character versus the support the other team got, right? So you were able to pick up pretty good kill and good amount of gold. So it'll give you a little bit of a boost, but unfortunately a little bit of a boost right now is still just a little bit. It does not really do much in the giant chunk that exists on the other side. And that's kind of the big problem right now if you're old and new, is finding these small wins only does so much for you. It is, you know, a mountain of small wins can really take the game back, but you're finding them once every now and then. Haven't been able to show much presence around any objectives. Maybe a Fire Giant. I mean, right now it really does kind of still feel 50-50 on some of these picks, so there's definitely room for them to still make these plays, but they're a lot more risky overall, right? You jump in and, oh man, you're 3 levels down, you're shredded, you're dead. 2 levels in mid, 3 levels in the jungle, 3 levels in solo. Like, everybody, except for Agna, has a lead on the side of Titans Reloaded. That's going to make it even harder for old and new to step up for... I'm going to assume the next Gold Fury goes down before most of the other objectives. Maybe if Pyromancer respawns and Gold Fury still hasn't fallen, maybe that's something else that people look at, but otherwise I imagine it's going to be a Gold Fury.
Mordred does find Dutch Whisperer, who will get out of that one quickly. This is a crucial fight for old and new to try to get back into this game. They're trying to dive through. Life of the party, though, going to catch one out and get a stun out. Lycane actually taking down ACD. That's a big kill. A lot of damage off the board, but Lystemix and Ragnar will come right through and pick 2 up for themselves, leaving Game Hunter all by himself to deal with the Sobek and company. And you take a ton of damage, you go down. I gotta tell you, Gore, this Titans Reloaded team, when you think about them getting back out, they were in the bottom 8 of Swiss, right? Close to being able to just qualify for the playoffs. But you wanted to see what kind of force that this group had between old and new and Titans Reloaded, and they might be showing you something that they could do in the playoffs. The fact that they are beating them this hard, it gets, you know, playing to their composition strength. They won that early game. They're getting the value out of ACD's ultimates as well, making sure that Goobus burst is too big to handle. Now you're going for this tier 2, right? You're up 10k now. And it only took you, what, 3 more minutes to get to that point than it did in game 1? So you're really still just kind of rinse, repeat. Who cares about the composition? It ends up being a massive mismatch in the solo lane. It ends up being really solid rotations. And this unorthodox duo lane that has been difficult for Matteo to deal with, even though he hasn't looked that bad. right? You're only one level down on this Amaterasu, but still, you're just not getting that effect. You're not getting the Jingwei ahead. And even if you get to this late game feel, it's going to be so easy just to burst Matteo down, no matter what, because that's where most of this damage is coming through. And with everybody else on the XP and item difference, I mean, this is just getting too tough to handle. But look at this pumping out here from Matteo. It will just be a matter of survival. And it looks like Dark will do just that. Meanwhile, ACD kills Lycane, and, well, Titans Reloaded roaming together.
Admittedly, they're just a death ball. I mean, you know, what are you going to do? If they find you, you're gone. I'm surprised that they're not going to be getting as more aggressive. It feels like they're in a position where they could be even more aggressive. But they also have to play defense, right? And that's the thing that the Jingwei is going to bring. Last game, I wasn't upset about the split pushing. I still like that for Old and New. But I didn't think Titans Reloaded needed to do anything about it. You need to get that kill like that. Get that shut down. Just take them off the board. It enables your team to play much more aggressive, much more freely now, without having to worry about losing potentially a Phoenix.
That was excellent juking from Dark, too. He avoided, I think, 5 or 6 bolts there from Jingwei. That almost certainly would have killed him. You saw how much damage Jingwei was still putting out there. Matteo just could not get him locked down and forced out on the ult. You won't get the kill, but you likely get this Gold Fury. Gore, I think we're getting to the same point where you were at last time. Titans Reloaded just playing a little different right now. Just a lot better across the entire map.
Yeah.
This is proving too difficult right now for Old and New.
I mean, you had kind of said it, but like the fact that they are, you know, ignoring the fact that the draft is different, it kind of goes to show that the team as a whole maybe has a better grasp of just the map right now, right? I mean, being able to meander into the enemy's jungle and steal camps, that's one thing, but also control over neutral objectives, better rotations. I mean, you know, look at the Sobek. Like, Lystimix is 6-0 and 8. That's absolutely insane in comparison to what we've seen from any other solo Sobek. Lystimix is making progress and making an impact on the map, despite the fact that you know, you were meant to be on solo island. You weren't supposed to be over there. Like, that's the thing I wanted to see. And more from the Fenrir, but you had mentioned it. Fell behind his farm, couldn't really leave the lane. Meanwhile, Lystimix was able to just show up and say, cool, I'm gonna pluck you. Like, and what's up? Somebody's gonna kill you. If it's not me, somebody will.
Yeah, you know, I feel like, you know, if you're Old and New, jungle has to pay extra attention to the mismatch, right? If you want that Fenrir roaming. And I just, you know, I do question that decision. But maybe they didn't know where Sobek was going, and like that's very possible. There was a couple of flex picks in this composition, and maybe that's part of the strategy, right? You kind of keep Old and New guessing about who's going where, because you can see them go multiple places. I didn't think the picks were really bad at all for Old and New, but that one mismatch on the other side, obviously the Amaterasu, Ragnar's just gotten the better of Matteo, and like, yeah, I mean, even when you have a potential mismatch on one side, outside of the solo lane, everything else just kind of falls apart. Pyromancer's going to fall. The Titans Reloaded. And it seems we are listening to the prelude of the end for Old and New.
That is a drums of defeat potentially starting to rumble in the distance. It is going to be a lot of maybe defense around this Phoenix line overall. I actually appreciate, look at Old and New. They want to catch somebody out. I don't know if Lystimix is going to be the one. But they are waiting. And all it's going to take is one unfortunate pathing of a carry, and you're going to get a kill. The downside is, most of you aren't, well, actually, yeah, most of you aren't level 20. You've got one on your squad. You're losing out on farm the entire time you're sitting there. And so I like it, I appreciate it, but you need a kill, and you need it to be a big one. Or else you've just kind of put Titans Reloaded even further ahead. Even if it's a little bit, it's a, you know, salt on top of the dish that is this league.
Matteo does have that Deathbringer online though now, but it does feel like it just comes out a little too late. ACD, Game Hunter, well, becomes Game Hunted. Ragna finding Lycane, and everyone getting plucked. Lystimix having his way with the Sobek. ACD continues. Just absolute dominance. My God, triple kill for him. Dark also picking it up. It's a complete deicide for Titans Reloaded. And here they go, barreling down the middle lane. This should be the end.
Yeah, look, it's 31 to 9. They have gotten the kills, they've gotten the health, they've gotten the damage. And while it's going to be, again, technically a little slower than it would have been had they had maybe, say, a ranged carry, you've got so long to work with. This Bacchus that's up in 5 is only going to be able to do so much. He's going to try and buy time for maybe Game Hunter, but I just don't know that you have what it takes. And it's Titans Reloaded playing well from the get-go. I mean, as a team, like, they coalesced into such a solid grouping. It was really crazy. I mean, we saw rotations from them that made the big difference. We saw them team fighting in 3v2s, 2v1s, things like that. They were grouping up just a lot quicker and a lot more concisely than old and new, and that led to such a commanding control. Not as fast and not as far as game 1, but it still got the job done, and that's all that matters.
I have to shout out Dark again, who, whether it's Fenrir or Mordred,
just
dude was hitting
their KDAs.
Yeah, I know. I want to look at those post-game stats as soon as they're ready. They will be up, but like the Mordred alts were so clutch so many times. I mean, we saw Dark on that kill feed so often, and ACD just doing great work also on the Anubis, and you can see why that Anubis gets banned so often. So let's take a look at those post-game stats, and you're just going to see domination across the board. 10, 2, and 16 for Dark. That is absolutely insane work. My God.
The fact that you had, first off, Dark with, double-digit assists and kills, but then also pretty close, like ACD's 9, 2, and 12. Wild. 6, 0, 11. Like literally everybody on the squad had a solid KDA. And Baku, 20 assists, racking them up. It just feels, again, and maybe shows to the team fight that Titans Reloaded brought was just better. Like they just, not just kills, not just in lane, but everything they did, they were able to find that. That's what gets them this lead, is they find 2 kills that opens up the door, and now suddenly you can go for that Gold Fury. Now suddenly you can go for the Fire Giant, for a Pyromancer. Like you just never had to worry about the presence from old and new as much, because you were winning the fight so heavily because your team fight was so well executed. Even if it is a draft where at the beginning, picks went where I never thought they would have, gods were where I never thought they would be, it still comes together into a beautiful team.
It really does. I mean, that was the thing, is like they completely switched up their comp in game 2 after such a dominant performance in game number 1. And I just, when we do talk to Titans Reloaded here in a second, like that's my question, is like, what was the thought process behind like this comp? Like, and like, what just gives them that kind of confidence? I mean, game 1, I mean, be as confident as you want, but it's not like old and new are really a bad team. Like these guys crushed everybody else in this group. They had great plays. They have good game sense. Like it's all there for old and new, but like Titans Reloaded just went so hard on them. So I'm just so curious about how that game 2 goes. But we do have Ragna on the interview, so let's go ahead and bring him in. Ragna from Titans Reloaded. Ragna, congratulations on getting top of the group. How are you feeling right now?
Well, it's always a good feeling to know that after a lot of hard work, especially because, as you know, during the Swiss stage, we got like kind of unlucky, because it depends on us if we win or if we lose. But I thought that we didn't have to be in this situation. But anyways, we have to play, we have to improve, and every single situation we take it as a moment to improve.
So, yeah, go ahead, Gore. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask specifically about game 2, because I was kind of curious. Like you guys, obviously, like you had control of the game, but I'm kind of curious, what prompted you wanting to go to like the Amaterasu as opposed to maybe going for like a more traditional carry?
Well, the Amaterasu idea is especially related to, as we know, Jingwei right now is top 1 ADC in the moment. It's so safe. It's so difficult to be gank. So I can go obviously to an Anur, to some Kernunus, but in that kind of situation in which we know we want to play around invades on the speed or even on the red, I think Amaterasu gives me a very good 1v1 situation, and especially for team fights, I was giving damage, I was giving prods. I think it's more useful than an Anur, especially.
I mean, you definitely showed it. You definitely backed that up. But I got to ask you guys, Swiss not going the way that it did for you guys when you fall down into LCQ and, you're thinking about, okay, we got to get back to the playoffs. How do we improve as a squad? What was the main thing you felt like you guys struggled with in Swiss that you tried to work on and you're doing better with here in the last chance qualifiers?
Well, obviously we are a team that last year on SMITE 1, we weren't like, we didn't know. We didn't know how to play, especially in comp. We were playing in combine, little tournaments. Actually, it wasn't until this summer we went into a more or less big stage. We went to some Dark and me, we went to the Content Cup there. And we started getting more into the comp scene, and especially during this Swiss stage, we faced a lot of amazing teams. We faced Genetics, we faced Davy, we faced twice Ikron, we faced Vaporish. They are top players that have win wars, that have been winning a lot of things. So we took that as experience to be improving during the time, and I especially hope that for playoffs after scrims and everything, we can really show up. That we aren't a team that it is in the top 8 in Europe. We are much better.
I mean, look, you guys crushed old and new, who looked like they were doing that to everybody else in the group. So, I mean, this is an emphatic win for you guys. GG's for sure, Ragnar. Thank you so much for talking to us, and good luck in the playoffs.
Thank you,
man.
boys. See ya.
All right, that's Ragnar from Titans Reloaded. You heard it from him, getting a lot of that experience and getting more comfortable with the game and getting more comfortable with each other is a lot of what they wanted. And he's saying, Amaterasu was actually a great counter to Jing Wei. And, you proved it there, didn't you, Gore?
Yeah, I really think that, being able to go into it, and much like you said, right, the focus on, instead of the farm or what you could maybe do for yourself, and like playing it on her or something like that, realizing like the damage shred, the survivability, the 1v1, but also the team fight potential that an Ama is going to bring over the Hunters, like that just shows to me again that this team not only is thinking outside the box, but much like you said, like they're not just top 8 in EMEA. I think they could climb even further beyond with performances like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think their heads are in the right place. They're always trying to theory craft, always trying to find the one up instead of just trying to out prio the other team. And I think that's truly what can make a team great in Smite rather than just good. So let's take a look at the standings. The final standings, as this group has totally shaken out. TLM did beat KTG, and so they will qualify for the playoffs and just sneak in. But Titans Reloaded, you can see that clean 4-0 sweeps across the board. Absolutely deserved after all the gameplay we've seen from them. We talk about how they're going to be a threat in the playoffs. All the new still got some things to learn here headed into the playoffs. TLM definitely an outside shot here, but I mean, Titans Reloaded, you say they could go even farther than top 8 Gore. But how do you feel about all the new overall after that matchup against Titans Reloaded?
I still see old and new like that. That's one of those matchups that maybe it's that Titans Reloaded has your number. Maybe there's something else that's going on. I do want to see them take that loss, go back, watch the footage, kind of figure out like what went wrong for them and reassess, because you're going to need that. I mean, you had kind of already touched on it, but like the fact that this was the bottom 8 teams from Swiss means there's potentially 8 other Titans Reloaded out there to have that matchup, right? And we've talked about Team Risk, Giovanna, Giorgio. Like there's some teams that we haven't seen in a couple weeks. It's easy to forget about how good they just are at Smite. And that's something I think that both of these squads, but very much more specifically, I think if you're old and new, you kind of got to go look and say like, okay, so why, like, how did we end up, in game 1? Like, why were we down 10,000 gold 12 minutes in? Like, what happened? Why did that happen? In game 2, like, are we sticking too much to specific drafts? Are we not playing the map a certain way? Like, where is it that they're beating you? And then try to emulate that for some of these top teams in the next few weeks.
Well, our playoffs in EMEA are now decided, and we still have another region to get the rest of our playoff teams in on the road to Vegas at 3 p.m. Eastern time. We will be going back over to North America to finish out the last chance qualifiers over there. So make sure you're back in your seats at 3 p.m. Eastern. But until then, Jorby and Gore are done for the day. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.